The second topic under acquiring knowledge for second language use is interpersonal competence. Interpersonal competence refers to the ability to adjust one's communication according to the context in which that communication is taking place. It is about how you adjust your communication with people you are engaged in a conversation with, in terms of your colleagues, in terms of any setting which requires your physical or face-to-face interaction. Now that encompasses knowledge which is required of learner who plans to use second language primarily for face-to-face purposes. So anything that can contribute in the development of a successful process of communication where the learner is engaged with the second language speaker in terms of face-to-face communication, all that knowledge has to be considered by the learner in the development of interpersonal communication skills. Vocabulary is the most important level of language knowledge for these learners to acquire. Vocabulary, again, it was important in the development of academic competence. This is something that we have just discussed. But vocabulary over there was required to enable the learner to exploit or comprehend the reading texts. So reading was the main focus with regard to vocabulary, but over here it's speaking and listening which are considered as important skills and where the choice of vocabulary play a very important role. So interpersonal competence is basically a series of potential behavior where there's expression of agreement, where you can accommodate the other person's views, initiation of social relation, empathy, assertiveness, consolation, avoiding interpersonal conflicts, and all these behaviors which are exhibited by the successful outcome in certain circumstances by the learner, such as developing a harmonious relationship. So basically it is a series of behavior that a learner demonstrates in order to develop a very fruitful or harmonious relationship with the person or members of any speech community. Here we have Vilanish's model of interpersonal competence, which consists of three factors. Number one, according to Vilanish, interpersonally competent people are self-aware. They use this awareness to better understand others and to adapt their behavior. So they are aware of themselves, the kinds of abilities that they have, their intentions, and the competence in terms of communicative competence, that the choice of words which are appropriate to be used in a given situation. Interpersonally competent people build and nurture. So their focus is on developing and nurturing strong, lasting, and mutually beneficial relationships. So relationship building is their main focus, and that is what they do, that they develop and they nurture, and idea is to develop strong and lasting mutually beneficial relationship. The third is that the interpersonally competent people resolve conflict in positive manner, and this is connected to this self-awareness, that they are positive people. They resolve conflict in positive manner because they enjoy empathy with them. They can relate to their problems and look at problems with objective views rather than the subjective views. The other interpersonal competence was introduced by the University of California, Los Angeles researchers, and they proposed 5 factors, which is initiating relationship, self-disclosure, providing emotional support, asserting displeasure with others, and managing interpersonal conflicts. Now, looking at these 5 factors, Vilanish says that I believe that self-awareness which he considered is missing among these 5 factors, he thinks that it is the foundation of interpersonal competence. So according to him, self-awareness is the most important factor in the development of interpersonal competence. Why? Because it says that those who are self-aware use this insight, self-awareness, to help them do things like initiate relationship with variety of people, determine how much they should disclose about themselves at various points in relationship, and determine the appropriate amount of emotional support. Self-aware people also use their knowledge of themselves and others to determine when and how to assert their displeasure with another person's action, as well as to manage and resolve interpersonal conflict. So a very comprehensive views given by Blanche in terms of his support for the self-awareness as an important factor. In fact, he thinks that self-awareness can contribute in the successful understanding of all these, which he thinks are the important factors for the development of interpersonal competence. All these 5. Let's see now the priorities for second language communicative activities. So what should be the priorities when you really need to develop your academic competence and interpersonal competence? So the priorities are highlighted here, that under academic competence, reading is the priority over here, followed by listening, writing, and speaking. So in terms of the priorities, for the academic development of academic competence, reading skills needs to be nurtured, needs to be focused on, and then the learner should be made a good and effective listener, and then after listening and reading can translate his thoughts and his expressions in writing and later on speaking. But under interpersonal competence, we see listening and speaking, they form the focal areas and the important areas that need to be focused on, followed by reading and the writing. So over here in terms of priorities, listening and speaking are given more priorities than the reading and writing, and under academic, the reading and listening are considered more important. Now, classification of activities with regard to these priorities are receptive activities for the reading and listening, and productive activities for writing and speaking are recommended. Let's see what is important for the development of interpersonal competence. For the development of interpersonal competence, we need to see the developing of interpersonal skills effectively, which are defined as those skills which one needs in order to communicate effectively with another person or a group of people. Now, the factors which can contribute in the development of interpersonal skills are 8. Let's see what is the first factor, that is self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is considered as an important factor for the development of interpersonal skills, and then that development may further strengthen the interpersonal competence. And self-awareness, as we see, is the empathy that actually underlie effective communication. Then another is effective listening. The ability to listen effectively is a core skill, so to be able to respond back appropriately. Questioning is another factor, and that means the ability to use questions that maximize the amount of relevant information that is gathered in exchange serves to enhance communicative efficiency. So questioning is when you are in a process of any communication, you listen, you reflect, you think about it, and on the basis of that, you require reinforcement, you require a feedback, and then you raise questions or elicit further information. The fourth point is your oral communication. That includes your conversation, presentations, negotiations, discussions, etc. The fifth point is helping or facilitating. This is very important because it is all about social interaction, that how people get engaged in a process of helping or facilitating that can contribute in the development of interpersonal competence. Reflecting is very similar to that of questioning, that reflecting serves a similar information gathering function to as that which is seen in questioning. Seventh point is assertiveness, which is encouraging active participation. One has to be assertive, one has to take turns in the process of communication, express the empathic role, which means understanding, development of understanding, relating to the information, relating to the exchange of communication, how other people feel, how other people go through certain emotion, and how you as an assertiveness is something that encourages active participation on the part of the participants who are engaged. That means one needs not to be passive, one needs not to be aggressive, one should be assertive. That means relating to the information, being empathic in the process, and trying to provide positive feedback. Nonverbal communication takes into account facial expression, gesture, postures, etc. So all these factors contribute in the development of interpersonal skills, which lead to the development of interpersonal competence. To conclude, the interpersonal competence refers to the series of behavior that the learner demonstrate to achieve a particular outcome successfully. Interpersonal skills play a vital role in the development of interpersonal competence.